don't miss your son's games. Don't do that. Soccer, baseball, get them involved in something. And whatever they're passionate, sit down and do it with them. I know it's tough, but some kids love games. Sit down and play a game with them.
Hi, this is Mark Sobowitz with a Clarion Voice. And today we are pleased to have with us an old friend, Sid Rodriguez. And Sid, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you for having me.
Sid, I've known you a long time, but why don't you tell the people about yourself and your family?
Okay, yes. Originally, I was born in New York. When I was 5-6 years old, parents moved to Los Angeles. So from the Los Angeles area, I was there probably another 13, 14 years. Moved around in that area, Southgate, Compton, Long Beach area. Then we moved to Moreno Valley. From Moreno Valley, that's where I went to high school at. Got into sports, started playing some basketball. After I did that, moved back to LA after I graduated. Lived there about maybe another year. That's when I met Nora, my wife Nora. And we've been married now over 30 years. Three
Very
beautiful
nice.
kids. Yeah, 3 beautiful kids, 2 girls and a boy. And just loving life now, enjoying it.
Very good.
So
When did you first come to the Lord?
I've been in church almost all my life. My parents had me in church, grew up in church. Even from New York, my parents had me every Sunday, every faithful, committed, always had me there. As growing up, learning, going to Sunday school. When I got into high school, that's when I kind of got away a little bit from the Lord and started dabbling in things I shouldn't have dabbled in, I'd say, back in the days. Stuff that I never regret because I learned a lot through it. But when I met my wife also had the same, kind of the way she was growing up in church as well. And when I got with my wife, we started attending a church in Downey, California.
Okay.
Cornerstone Christian Worship Center was called. And that's when I rededicated my life back to the Lord. And ever since then, and I think I was 22 years of age. And I've been in church ever since, thanking the Lord and just loving life.
And how long have you been going to Atascadero First Assembly / Legacy?
Legacy Church. Wow. So 30 years, because originally when I got married, we moved up here for the first 2 to 3 years. And that's when I introduced to, back then it was Atascadero First Assembly. And we were here for 2 years. I joined a youth program, started doing things with the youth. And then we moved. It got a little bit slow for me. Back then they had Blockbuster videos and things like that. They didn't have Netflix or anything. So,
Right.
but it was kind of rural. Still, nothing was developed here. And I missed, since I was a city slicker all my life, I kind of missed it. So my wife and we moved back to LA, where we lived there probably another 8 years. Had both my second one down in LA. And when I had the second one, it was outrageous to keep them in private school. It was just too much. So we ended up moving back to Atascadero like 8-9 years later, and then I've been there ever since. So
I
more
see.
than 20 plus years.
Okay. What's the most important thing in your relationship with the Lord?
What's the most important thing in my relationship? Well, I would probably say I think the Lord has a sense of humor. So really quick, growing up when I was in high school, hated high school, despised it. I was one of those kids that never went to school, got a job during my junior year,
Right.
and I was on that extended program. And it's just funny because I end up now I'm a campus supervisor at a Tuscadero High School and dealing with youth kids and all sorts of stuff. I think the Lord has a sense of humor, because what I hated growing up is what I end up doing now. Now I'm coaching kids and doing all sorts of stuff.
Wow.
But I think being rooted, and the most important thing is we deal with a lot of negativity, a lot of drama, a lot of stuff that happens on campus. Some of the stuff that people don't see a lot of, right. Dealing with discipline all the time. And I think just being rooted with the Lord has shown me more humbleness, more patience. And because, sometimes I get teachers that come up to me and say, what do you do? How do you do what you do? I can do what you do. And I think it's just being rooted. The Lord's always shown me patience, kindness. He's always gave me that, that patience, just where nothing bothers me, because I know. And every time I'm rooted and being focused with him, it seems I seem to me be more at peace. So that, being rooted in the word, reading it consistently, has shown me to be more patience, I guess you would say.
What do you see as the biggest problem in your job dealing with the young people?
So normally it's usually a handful of kids that come in and out. But I think what it is I really want to say it kind of stems from the home life. Because kids come to school and they have problems. They have drama. In high school, that is their world. As I'm sure as adults, when we grow and we're out there and we're working, where that's the real world. But for a kid, that is their real world. That is their job, right? To go to school, to get good grades, to do what they need to do to accomplish and be successful and do all that stuff. Right. But kids come with problems to school. Sometimes they come with battered homes. Sometimes they come with abuse. There's just so many problems that kids, and when they come to school, that doesn't stop. They're still in school and they still having issues and problems and things. So, and it's hard to sit in a class when they're going through a hardship.
Sure.
Sometimes they have kids that don't have roof over their heads. So being in a classroom, focus on needing what to do sometimes is difficult. So I think the hardest part is maybe having to do SCAR reports for me, which is, abuse, stuff like that. So to me, that's hard, but it all stems from the house. So there's a slogan, the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. And it usually is true. So what I say is the kids that are least in my office, their parents are involved completely, in and out. And it's at a time right now where I'm going to start getting sentimental. I don't like getting sentimental, but so there's times where parents are single parents and they got to work multiple jobs. And what happens is the lack of supervision, the kids do what they do. And unfortunately with media, social media is just so accessible for them and so easy. It's almost the stuff they see on there is kind of raising them, right?
Right.
Instead of the parent being there and telling them this is the realistic part of it. This is the reality.
Well, in your position, in your job, how do you try to counteract that? Considering the influences that the kids have when they come to school.
So when kids come in my office, they usually did something wrong, whatever. It could be a referral, it could be a mistake they did or something like that. But when they come in my office, they know they're in trouble. Oh, here comes Sid, or they come to, oh man, I don't want to see Sid. But when they leave my office, they understand that they're not there because of me. They're there because of the choice they did, right? Or the decision they made. And when I sit down with that student, for whatever reason it is, I usually ask them, why are you here? What is the reason that you're sitting in my office? And they usually tell me, hey, this is what happened. And all it does, what I do is share the experience. This is what we should have done. This is the way we should have did it, right? Because they always have an excuse. There's always an excuse why they're in there. Right. Oh, the teacher don't like me, or I didn't do this, or I took out my phone and all I did was check the time. And there's always an excuse. So But when you really, all they want to do is be listened to. And when you listen to them, they can relate and say, yeah, I understand. And I express to them, this is the way you should have done it, right? To avoid being in the office. And by the time they leave the office, they realize, I get it, Sid. I should have done this. I should have done it this way. I should have, done it that way. So, I mean, they always come in, even when they're not in trouble. Sid, thanks for being there. Thanks for helping me. So,
Right.
And it's just funny. It's just through experience, the life and for me, the toughest part is every year at graduation time. I think that's the toughest part, because that's why I said the Lord has a sense of humor. Me growing up, kids that deal with problems, that's what I dealt with. I wasn't there. I cut classes. I wasn't doing the things I was supposed to do. So it's easy to relate to a kid who comes into my office saying, Sid,
Sure.
this is what I did. I was like, yeah, I've been there. I've done that. I understand what you're saying. So it makes it a lot easier, right? Just being in their situation as much.
Do you feel like you're swimming upstream sometimes as far as dealing with the problems that these kids have?
It's a constant battle, but like I said, I deal with it consistently, right? But they are good kids. There are majority of the kids on campus do their jobs, do their responsibilities, do what they need to do. So it's not a swimming uphill battle. It's just kind of maneuvering through the waters, right?
Okay.
That's all it is. Because I promise you, next year I'm going to have kids that make wrong decisions, that do something wrong or do something. So it's every year. Now, since COVID started, it's been a little bit different. It's almost like the kids have like they missed a whole year of development, of growing up, of, getting that, hey, don't do that, don't do this, let's go this way, or, let's do that. So it's almost like they're a year behind, and it took a whole year for them to catch up and say, okay, I get it now. This is where I need to be. So,
Okay.
But it is moving in the right direction. I just think we need more mentorship, more leaders, positive leaders, so a lot of kids are seeking the social media and watching YouTube, videos that, those are people's opinions, right? And not so much facts. And they'll go with what's ever easier for them instead of the truth. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Let me ask you something. This might seem a little bit off the wall, but in your interactions with the kids at school, how has that changed the way you deal with your kids?
So, so I coach 2 basketball, right?
Okay.
So I don't know what it is, but when I coach a person's kids, or I coach a student, right? They seem to absorb more, listen, be more attention, more being more involved, right? Engaged. But when you raise your own kids, I don't know if it's with you. They tend to like, Dad, I already know this. I know that, the kind of the blinds go up, the ears shut down. And so, so the difference is, it helped me. So I also work not only do I work for the school district, but I also work for a group home for boys.
Okay.
And I think they're so ahead of the games because these kids come from Oakland, San Francisco areas, different areas that are kind of a little bit more advanced, faster pace. So they kind of teach me what's going on before it hits our school, which kind of helps out
I
a
see.
little bit.
Okay.
So it's kind of neat because I'm ahead of the ball game before it finally gets here. But I mean, as far as what I've learned, like some of these kids that come, they've never done windows. We have to do chores, right? Every Saturday. They've never washed a window. They've never Windexed a window before. And you have to go in there and show them and how to do it and stuff like that. It's just the stuff that we take for granted. Some kids have never seen the beach before. So when we do our activities on the weekends, to see them go to the beach and see it for the first time is kind of rewarding. So, but I mean, they keep me ahead of the ball game, and then that helps me with my children, with my kids. So they'll come to me and I kind of prepare them You know, because I don't want them to find out and then come and say that this is what happened. I'd rather tell them so when it does happen, they know how to kind of defend it, right? Or, you know, address it better.
They just see it for themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
okay. I understand.
but I mean, like everybody, like every parent, you want your kid to be better. For me, for my kids to be better than I am.
Okay.
So I teach them what I've learned. And hopefully, and sometimes my kids teach me stuff I've never learned. I was like, whoa, wait, how did you do that? Show me that again. So, I mean, it's always a learning. I think once you've figured out everything and not continue learning, I think that's when you start going backwards.
Right.
So I'm always learning, you know.
Do you get a chance to interact with the parents of these kids? Okay.
I do. Unfortunately, it's when I have to call them or, hey, your son did this in class or your son did this in class. But the first thing that even comes out my mouth is something great about the kid. Before I even talk about discipline or what they did or anything like that, first of all, I tell them, listen, this is what your kid is. He's great. This is what happened. But we're, you know, unfortunately, this is what happened. But because there's always great, I always find positive thing in any kid. I don't care what it is, you know. I got kids that do drugs. Okay, I got kids that are consistently in trouble. Kids that cut class continuously, or kids that come from, you know, different areas. You know, I mean, not all of them, but they all have different things. You know, but there's always something great in each kid, and that's what I try to do. Once I find it, then I just start rewarding that and start rewarding it. You know, so I mean, that's what I do as far as
okay. One of my favorite questions that I usually ask people that I interview is, where do you see yourself a year from now?
In the Bahamas on the beach somewhere. I'm
with you.
That's where I would like to be. I don't know. Where do I see myself in a year? Right now, I'm passionately involved in coaching. I started doing private lessons. So I coach basketball I'm the assistant coach for the boys varsity at the high school. And then I'm also a head coach or a coach for an 8th grade team, which is a club team for basketball called Pass First. So some of the kids didn't make the squad this year for whatever reason. You know, some skill levels need developing or something. So just recently, within the last, I want to say month here, I started doing private lessons and for the kids who didn't make the team but have the potential, right, who love the basketball game, to teach them and give them skills and fundamentals and get that going. Because sometimes in high school, they get to high school and they still can't make a left-hand layup. You know, at that level, they should already have all the fundamentals down, and they don't. So now we're reaching down to the 5th, 6th, 7th graders, and I started teaching that. And now I'm helping kids that are struggling with that, and I'm coaching and getting them up to speed, which I really enjoy doing that. So I've always been in basketball in my life. I played basketball in high school, and so it's been a real blessing, you know.
Okay.
Yeah. So
one other thing. Mm-hmm. If you were to say something, give a message to somebody, a kid that's watching this, or a parent that's watching this, what would be your message to them? And you can look in your camera there and speak to somebody.
I say, so I work a lot. To me, it's not work. I enjoy, you know, doing what I do, but I do put in a lot of hours. So my suggestion is find time to spend more time with your kids. I understand people have to work 2 jobs now to make rent sometimes. But if you have the opportunity, don't miss the son's game. I'm going to get emotional again. Don't miss your son's games. Don't do that. Soccer, baseball, get them involved in something. And whatever they're passionate, sit down and do it with them. I know it's tough, but some kids love games. Sit down and play a game with them.
Right. Okay.
I mean, if you want to build a relationship, sit down, play the game with them. You know, if it's soccer, go out there and play soccer with them. You know, a lot of people get busy and they want the coach to do it, right? Hey, do this, do this. Let's do it together. It takes a family to do it. So don't miss the kids' game. If you get an opportunity to do it, to spend more time, do it. Spend it. Don't miss the opportunity. I think that's the most valuable, part. And I see a lot of it because sometimes there's kids there at games. The parents are not there, It's like,
Just for clarification purposes, Sid works for Atascadero High School, by the way, for the Unified School District in his capacity as a campus supervisor. Okay, just for clarification purposes. If somebody wanted to get in contact with you, what would be the best way to do that?
Just reach out to me. I'm at the high school. I got an email if they need to, or I'll give you my email, or you can put it on the website or whatever. I can give you my personal phone number as well, so I have no problem with doing that as well. So I also work at the Mid-State Fair during the summer. So if you need people that need employment for that time that the Mid-State Fair is happening, I can help them out with that as well. So I dabble a lot in a lot of work and stuff.
Well, you're doing a lot of good work, sir.
Well, I love people.
There you go.
And I love inspiring people to do more, become more, have more. It's just, I've been doing a lot of soul searching a lot. And I've learned that that to inspire people to say something positive instead of negative is a lot. It goes a lot further. It's, at least at the high school level for kids, I'm always encouraging them, and they'll tell you that every time they're down. Hey, what's up? What's the problem? Keep your head up. And I learned that through church. We go through valleys, we go through seasons, and you have up and downs. Sometimes it's tough, but I promise you'll get through it. So just keep your head up and always stay positive. But so if they want to reach out to me for lessons or just, I have parents that call me to check up on their kids. Hey, Sid, can you check up on my son? And what's going on? And so they always go to me. Keep an eye out on my kid. I got 1,300 kids now. So
oh my goodness.
That's what I always say.
Well, Sid, thank you very much for sharing your heart and sharing your beliefs. And we really appreciate you being here. And just to get in touch with Sid. We can get in touch with Sid, and we can go ahead and direct you accordingly. And so we hope that you're encouraged by the positive nature of what Sid does as a campus administrator at Atascadero High School. And we thank you once again, Sid, for being here.
Thank you, Mark, for having me again.
And this is Mark Sobowitz with a Clarion Voice.